finance. Yeah. And when I apply my role, it's another ball game entirely. The way you answer questions there, the way you set up your application are so different. If you don't have the skills, you forget it, my brother. You need somebody to tell you this how to go about it, how to do it. If you want to use your own might, I'm sorry, nobody will go anywhere. But I was able to be open up. I speak out that I needed help. I speak out that I needed assistance, and I got it from this platform. So I believe that has answered your question. Thank you.
Great. So, Michael, does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, it
All
does.
right.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no problem. All right, just one more person. One more person, so I can go ahead. One more person, if you have any question for Babatunde.
Yeah, I have a question, please.
Hi, Devin Tokpe.
Mhm.
Hi, Stella. Hi.
Yeah, hi, good
Hi.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So my question to Babatunde is, coming from a different background, just like Michael has mentioned, because from what you said, you're entirely new to this role in terms of NHS. Do you face any challenge when you pick up this job newly? And how do you overcome those challenges, making sure that you fully integrate into the system quickly as possible?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I'm very new to the system. You know, during my course of preparation, Said has told me what I needed to know. It prepared my mind towards it. We have one-on-one interaction. Everything that I needed meetings, meeting agendas, all those things, how to, so many things, how to, as where I was coming from, I have a little knowledge of administrative process. That one too helped me, but he really made emphasis on what I needed to know, and I was reading ahead. As he was telling me, I normally have a record of our discussion, and I will go through it again, read it again, and even watch it again. All those things inspire me, and I personally I have a can-do attitude in me that whatever is a challenge that I'm having, I will be able to scale through. I have a challenge to meet up with NHS work. I needed to reach towards it. There are some things when you do it practically you are doing. For my own case, it's a theory. When you read something and you are trying to visualize it to your interviewer that this you can do it, this and this is another ballgame. But I try as much as possible to be able to convince the interviewer that I've done this, I can do this. And what they really wanted from you, they've gone through your CV, they've seen what you wrote. That's why they call you. That one is very important. Setting up your application is the first step. If you didn't set it up well, they will you not be called for interview. Chocolate will come and defend. You are going there to defend what you have written on the application. They've seen it that oh, you said you can do this, you are that. Okay, come and defend it. In the process, you have to defend what you have written. That's what I was able to do. I was able to do it effectively. That's why I was able to get this NHS job. I believe that has answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much. So the support you receive is beyond landing that job. There's after support, there's mentorship alongside. It's like a full package. That's what I get from what you said. Thank you very much.
Let me tell you, yes, look, I did a full package with Said. There's not because I know my capacity. If you know your capacity, you'll be able to determine whatever you need. I knew these are the things I needed, and I go for that full option. And the full option, I thank God, is money is nothing, but if you can get what you spend the money on, it can be justified. I'm so happy that I did the full package, and yeah, I am today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Thank you. Thank you so
I'm
much,
still
Babatunde. I
available
think
for any question.
Okay. All right. I think should we do one more so we can start maybe 3:30 again? And just to comment on what Babatze said. I think one of the things that has also changed, which is some of the announcement that will be coming in into the group as well, is in the past, what you usually get is I will wait until they call you for an interview before you get interview support. But now you're more or less being prepared for an interview before you have an invite for an interview. And after you get your job, rather than waiting until they give you a start date before we start having discussion, you literally have a pre-induction with me, talking you through the process. And if I know someone that is going into the kind of role you're going into, I can pair you up with them to talk you through some of the things you can expect, how to prepare yourself, give you a lot of materials that will help you so you can have an idea of what you'll be going into day one and what the future will mean. Because trust me, one of the things a lot of people do encounter when you start your role with the NHS is because of how much different it is as an institution. A lot of you go with the mindset that you're going there to make a massive impact, make a change. But the system is already set out as such that you're not there really to be turning things around within a short space of time. Settle down, relax, get to know what the system is all about. And by the time you start having your prep, by the time they call you for interview, by the time you start your role, you're well prepared. You're more or less about 85% equipped to go into that role, assimilate, and also integrate fully into that system. Some of the changes that will then come along will be things that you're probably familiar with, but if you need advice, you always have me there. You always have people within. There's another group entirely where there's always people in there that I can also direct you to. And you have someone like myself, John, Shea, and a lot of people will tell you they've had a referral to those individuals to ask questions that I might not have an idea, or I might have an idea, but I think they might be best suited to be approaching that area than myself. Sorry, Baba, today you have your hands up.
Yeah, thank you. I want to add this. Apart from getting a, an NSA job, there is another thing that's been added. I'd always do a follow up. If you have any issue or you needed help doing your course of work after you have gotten or secure a place with NHS, it's always there to assist. I can tell you about 4 days ago, there was something that was new to me. I needed to call his attention. Right, I have this that I needed to do. How would I go about it? And openly, he was so happy to really tell me what to do. Even after what I've done, after securing, after I've started the job, you can still come back to me and I say, oh, I have this challenge. How will I go about it? And he's always ever ready to support. He's always ever ready to introduce you to a platform whereby you have a place to learn. There's a place to learn after you have joined the platform, whereby you'll be able to get a certification, you'll be able to get advice, you'll be able to be mentored on the process and procedure on how to work in NHS. I just feel I should add that to my discussion, to what I've said earlier. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there can one more person and then we can move on. One more person. One more person. Okay, that's fine. Right. So I'm sure there will be opportunity to ask more questions. So thank you so much, Babatunde. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time you've given me today. It's an honor and privilege to have you come here and speak to these guys. I'm sure when people get to revisit this recording and get to hear about your experiences, this is something that we also give them the necessary boost that they're looking for in terms of their own journey. So where are we now? So supporting statements. This is where the major part of your application comes into it. NHS applications, your pathway to sponsorship in line with the new legislation. So now, what is the most important bit that you guys are missing out on when it comes to NHS application? That is your supporting statement. I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with how to make applications, so I'm not going to be going through that process today. There's the platform where you make an application. If you don't know, just type NHS Jobs. You will set up your tracking there. but I will be going straight into some of the critical questions that I think we feature in there. A lot of you might not know this already, but the way you design your track is also very vital in terms of you being selected for an interview. And one of the things I will also try and advise is, sometimes you have to be careful with the supporting statement. I've made similar mistakes as well. I've made progress in some areas. There are some times where your supporting statement can be so heavy in such a way whereby you will not get requests for a lower banding job. So you need to find a way to get the balance right. I've had times where I've done a supporting statement, and this is an experience. The person is going on to secure a band 7 job now. I've had another person that has gone on to secure a band 8 job where the supporting statement was geared particularly towards a very senior administrative job, but they were very much sorry, can you all be on mute, please? If you are not on mute, please make sure you are on mute. So the person was particularly well thinking if it's doable, like, should they actually aim for, band 5? And I said, we've got to take the gamble. I'll support you and everything. Yes, I think they're probably more than 6, 7 months or so plus in their band 7 role. People that I also know that I've worked with are outside of the group that have gone on to their band 8 roles as well. I have had opportunity to work with private individuals outside of the group as well. So if you look at, this is where the progress is usually made when it comes to your application. And by looking at your application, your manager, the recruiting manager, have about, say, give and take 5 to 10 seconds, make their decision whether they will call you for an interview or they're not going to call you for an interview. And unless you're able to position yourself in such a way whereby you presented yourself as the right candidate on the role, therefore, you will struggle to secure any level of respect that will hand you an interview invite. And in some circumstances, just because you're not being invited for an interview is also not down to the fact that your supporting statement is not good enough. It's also down to other factors, because a lot of the managers now in NHS are so seasoned to the point where they are quite familiar with the visa condition now. A lot of you might not know this, but if you go on NHS Jobs now and try to apply for a job, you will see some of the hospitals. I know Bristol now, for example, on every applications, they will make it clear in there, if the role does not qualify for sponsorship, is a blanket rules. They will write it in there. If you look at hospitals like Oxford, you have to provide them. I think in Oxford now, they are even asking you the date you apply for your post-study. So some hospitals are very much aware of these things around international students needing sponsorship, something that wasn't the case before, because it's now quite, popular, is in open space, open discussion now. And it's not been helped by the fact that, a lot of people has not really helped the discussion with many of these content creators popularizing certain ideas, not being mindful of the fact that there are people that are picking these things up. And now, you have that as something a lot of managers are looking at, and as using, justifying as a reason to say, look, I have about 10 people on my list that have applied for this job. Some of them are British citizens, some of them are dependents, some of them have indefinite leave to remain. They're almost on par with you in terms of qualifications and experience, background. Well, if that's the case, why should they go for you to call you for an interview? And then you probably be an excellent person in the interview. They're torn between choosing you and somebody else, having to struggle around knowing that you'll be on the road for about 7 months, thereabouts, at best 8 months. They need to go through the same process again, recruits, interview, trained, and all that circle just continues. So why don't they just get someone that is already secured in UK, have all their documents to reside in the UK? And that leaves you with numbers of unfortunates. So if you're getting these unfortunates, it's not because maybe you've not done the right things, but it's probably influenced by other factors that is outside of your control. That should also be something you should consider. And you also need to be aware of the fact that your supporting statement is very much important alongside the visa, and you will have these challenges to overcome. But the length of time you have also play a key role. So if they can see that, okay, you have 2 years, which is why the argument I made one time, if you go back to the YouTube page, you will see some videos I've made about what is the best entry position into NHS. fixed term or permanent role. A lot of you will be so adamant on permanent role that you will lose out on opportunity for fixed term job. So if you're so much adamant that, I have to get a permanent role, unless the permanent role is coming immediately with sponsorship, should you actually be so adamant on it? You should be exploring all opportunities. So if you're going for a permanent role that comes with sponsorship, absolutely. But if there's opportunity for you to secure a fixed term role that will give you an entry position into the system and then subsequently give you a pathway to sponsorship, you've prepared yourself for a good future. If you get yourself, let's say, a 12-month contract, which is the most common fixed term position anyway, you've get yourself a 12-month fixed term contract in the NHS. You've then gone on to say, for instance, you've been doing your 12-month fixed term position for about 9 months, or say 7 months. Possibly within 6 months into that role, you should start exploring opportunities for higher banding. And there's no reason for you to be more than 6 months in a row, to be honest with you. If I'm being sincere, anything more than 7 months in a row, you're probably stretching it. There's no reason why you should not be seeking promotion within your 6, 7 months in a position. Giving yourself the right appropriate support and network, you know that if you start your promotional quest at 7 months, you have about, give and take, worst case scenario, you spend 2 months doing interview, from application to job closing to being invited to whether you pass your first interview or second interview to doing your interview. So out of the 12-month contract you have, you probably spend 9 months out of it on the job experience, 7 months, 2 months for interview. So 9 month experience, by the time you do your reference, you're probably coming close to the end of your contract. That is a proper strategy. And I'm sure with 7 months, you would have had a great deal of things to write about and talk about yourself on your supporting statement. And that is a typical example of what you need to do when it comes to putting your supporting statement together. And what are the most important thing on your supporting statement, which the managers are looking for, right? They are looking for, so I'm looking at it from an administrative function. They are looking for things like your leadership qualities. They're looking for why you've applied for the job, experience you think you have, a lot of any IT knowledge you have, training, skills, personal attributes, the kind of person you are as an individual. What qualities can you bring into that role? Your teammanship spirits, your ability to work to deadline, your ability to collaborate with others, your ability to improve change, to bring about change, innovations, and also to play a key role in progress and development. So look at this, for example, right? A very good example of one supporting statement that will give you an idea of what is very important. So you're talking about, say for instance, you're putting a supporting statement out there for a job. Either you're writing yourself about, let's use Babatunde Balogun's job for example, in the capacity of senior um, administrator. So it's part of his job. We mean about working with diverse individuals, collaborating with them. I suppose some of the things that has gone on in his application, I know what is in there, by the way. So just let me give you an idea of what you probably expect to feature in that kind of application is, my ability to collaborate, my ability to collaborate with diverse team. That's particularly a function of his role. My ability to collaborate with diverse team has allowed me to gain a comprehensive understanding of unique requirements that different groups present. You know, that is one statement in there. I am adept at engaging with team members, stakeholders, ensuring everyone voices is heard and valued. I am confident in my ability to work effectively with a senior management team at all levels. I am capable of facilitating open dialogue and collaboration that enhance service delivery. As an individual, I am very much aware of the responsibility of teamwork. I am capable of collaborating with diverse individuals. I am an initiator within a team and also a collaborator to achieve departmental goals and project and objectives. And all these qualities have played a key role in my career development over the years. I've undertaken so projects. So for example, I initiated a change from a paper-based system into IT-based system or cloud-based system when I was senior manager at Zenith Bank, for instance. And the project led to about 50% efficiency in terms of service delivery. It brought about over 75% reduction in paper use, which went into our cost improvement initiative. Now you're giving them an idea of who you are as an individual. And as you can see, if any one of you in this room were to be a recruiting manager, looking at that individual, I'm sure definitely looking at the function of your role at any administrative capacity, you can already start to have a picture of where this individual will fit in for you in terms of ability to think outside of the box, in terms of ability to work to deadline, in terms of ability for this individual to apply their initiatives to bring about progress within team. And these are the kind of things they would like to see to feature in your application. And when it comes to the areas that are also important, you're looking at things around IT skills, because a lot of any administrative job in the NHS, whatever the position may be, we require you to have a great deal of IT knowledge. And those IT knowledge are also very, very important, because those are the things that we ask you in your interview about your IT knowledge. What skills do you have? So, for example, let's look at some IT skills that will be very important in here. I possess high level of proficiency with a variety of presentation and data management software. For example, I'm very skilled with utilizing Microsoft Office applications such as Excel, SharePoint, um, I can utilize applications such as Microsoft Word. I can utilize applications such as Microsoft Project, PowerPoint for presenting information, Microsoft Excel, where complex data can be presented in a simple business language, Word for drafting comprehensive reports, projects for effective project management. And likewise as well, if you have any knowledge of any hospital-based applications, some of you that are already working in the NHS, I'm sure you will know things like, Datex, Careflow, whatever system you use in your hospitals, nerve centers. You have series of applications that are applicable to your hospital. Ulysses, for example, all these are used for risk management in some circumstances. All these are also used for patient pathways and flows within the hospitals, and also your knowledge on PTL, patient tracking list. So those of you that are already within the system, these are the things you need to be pushing on in your supporting statement as part of your opportunity to elaborate and explain who you are as a person on the paper, and get yourself through to your band 5, band 6, band 7, band 8 position. And I can tell you, as I'm speaking to you today, well, none of these things are impossible. None of these things are impossible. I'm being sincere with you. There's no reason why in that group, as we are, and every one of you in this room today, nothing stopping you if you set yourself a clear goal within 12 to 16 months on that post study. There's nothing stopping you attaining a band 8 minimum. And I've seen it done, because I know it can be. So there's nothing stopping you if you set yourself a ruthless target. It's going to be very, very painful, because you will have to relocate. I will not pretend otherwise. The job for your promotion will not come in your trust. It is a culture, and it is a culture that is already prevailing in a lot of hospitals. Your job for your promotion will not come in your trust. And because of that, as part of your development, you will need to factor in the principle of social mobility, meaning that that role you're doing right now, you will move into another role, but there's nothing stopping you within 16 months securing a band-aid position. And what I've said to you today about your supporting statement being important, these are knowledge you've gained from moving from one role to another, either vertical progression or horizontal progression. You will see yourself moving on to different positions, and you will have to be very, very ruthless with your career progression. And if you're that very ruthless with your career pathway and planning, you will definitely find out that some of the things that other people will be telling you, that, oh, you're Nigerian, NHS don't do this, NHS don't do that, you find that not to be applicable to you. If you are a very ruthless person when it comes to your career, you find out that a lot of things people will say to you, oh, sorry, the NHS, Nigerians don't go to a senior manager position in the NHS. You probably find out that that is pure nonsense, because none of these things are not achievable. But the only way whereby you will store your career progression is by having the mindset that the job must come at the back of your house, or the job must be in the same trust you're working. It will never happen. Chances are it won't even happen at all. So if you're able to move around, you will find yourself attaining things that other people are actually finding difficult to even set their sight on, not to even talk of thinking about it. So those are the things you need to do, and talk about your training, your knowledge you have in utilizing various systems. If you have BA training, applications like Power BI, if you have knowledge of Power BI, you have knowledge of Excel to use it in a complex environment. You also have knowledge on using Microsoft Teams and Outlook, particularly those of you that will be going for PA role. That is also one job that also falls within shortage occupation list that you can also explore to gain a career opportunity into sponsored role on without salary restriction. So all those things, if you can explain it carefully and put it into writing, you definitely set yourself up for a very good future. Before I leave this supporting statement bit, because we're coming close to the end of the webinar soon, do you have any question in here? Do you have any question? Do you have any question in this area? Okay, that's fine. Right, so let's look at NHS interview. I'm not sure how much of people know about this, but this is one experience that actually, resonates so much with me in terms of the experience I have with a particular person whom you'll be hearing from today, Shay. I remember my first encounter with Shay was through an interview simulation we had. And she came forward. We did a role play for an interview, and I asked her a series of questions. And I remember after that, we were able to have dialogue and share experiences. And she then realized how much she actually knew and how ready she is in terms of her journey. And where we are right now is that a lot of you do not actually realize there is a massive difference in terms of the way you approach interview in Nigeria and the way you approach interview in UK. And also the way you approach interview in the private sector is also different from the way you approach interview in NHS. NHS have its own standard. NHS have its own way and mechanism of answering interview. They have key things they're looking for, and those key things are quite very bespoke in a way whereby they are not the same across the board in every hospitals. Things like trust values, things like the nature of the job, things like understanding, picking one or two lines from your job description to answer your questions is something that is very, very central to understanding this journey, to understanding what you need to do, to understanding your preparation for the future. And unless you're able to play this proactive role in understanding how NHS interview process work, the outcome might not be different, or it won't be different anytime soon. And by understanding it, you will then hear success stories of one kind of the others. People that have gone through many interview experiences, they will come back and tell you, this is the time when I knew I passed, or this is the time when I knew I might have just about to get there, but I realized I need to do more in here. And there are numbers of questions that will feature in your NHS interview. And those questions are things around, the icebreaker questions, which are non-scoring questions, but those questions usually determine whether you get a job. That is about yourself, the role, the hospital, understanding of the job, your skills. Those things are categorized as icebreaker question. But unless you play those, present the answers to those questions well, and give them a portrait of who you are in line with the job description, you are definitely about almost 50% certain that you've done yourself a disservice. But if you have been able to manage to navigate this experience of these icebreaker questions, whereby there is a clear flow, a clear understanding of the job, a clear understanding of where these organization and departments, where they're going, what their plan is, you are definitely well prepared and well presented to then set them up for the next set of questions whereby they can get to know you, you can get to know them, and see what next out of this. Because unless is a case whereby you're the only person that they're interviewing, if it's not, you definitely have to beat the score, or the person coming after you have to beat your score, and that's how interviews are judged. So if we look at the icebreaker question here, what do you think about yourself will mean in NHS interview? I'm not asking you to give me an answer. Can we just have a conversation here? Let's just have a dialogue. What do you think about yourself will represent for you in NHS interview? Is there anyone that is happy to share what they think it might represent for them? Is there anyone that is happy to share? What do you think this might mean for you?
I think I'm willing to try.
Moturayo,
So I
is that okay?
yes,
Go on.
yes. I believe this question you probably answer it in a way where you talk about your career and not necessarily personal stuff like, oh, I'm married with 2 children, or giving personal information. I don't think they want to know about that. They probably want to know what have you done in your career, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So you're quite right. What have you done in your career? Why are you coming to this job in the first place? So you've worked as an administrator, you've worked as a customer service officer, you've worked in the capacity of administration manager, you've worked as a business and support and manager, operations manager, you've gained wealth of experience in administrative and clerical function roles, you've been able to put meetings together, you've been able to write reports, you've been able to use data to bring about service improvements, and looking at the job you're sitting for, those skills have well readied you with all the necessary attributes to deliver on the role. You have experience with managing people. So now you've already even covered almost about 50% of what is in the job description. Therefore, the next thing you need to start doing now are the technical questions around what do you know about the role? What do you think? NHS specific question. What do you know about performance targets? If it's a performance related role, what do you think about bring using data to bring about service improvement? What do you know about confidentiality in the NHS? Then you go on to things around staff management. So if you want to divide your interview, you can look at it from the first set of questions about yourself, your leadership aspect questions. So can you tell us about your leadership style? What does teamwork mean to you? So all these things now, they start asking you things that looking at your background, you should have experience of it. And one of the disservice a lot of people usually do to themselves is because you've worked in Nigeria, a lot of the things you take for granted are actually your interview answers. A lot of you don't actually realize that when you're having conversation with an underperforming staff within your team that is working in front desk, that is you having a performance meeting with them. That is you coaching them. That is you providing them with mentorship, because the alternative to you having meeting with them to correct them about what they did wrong to a customer will be for you to take a punitive approach to set them up for a disciplinary meeting. But you had an informal meeting with them. You helped them in terms of understanding what they did wrong, even if they were staff that quite very reluctant to take your advice. What you did afterwards are the things that prove the kind of person you are in terms of your leadership qualities, and those are the kind of things that you can use well as example when you're presenting your case forward for your job opportunity. And unless you're able to communicate this and convey it in such a way whereby the people can have a portrait of who you are in terms of career development, progress you've made, development opportunity, there's nothing in here for you unless you actually can do these things properly and you can do them in a dignified manner. So those are the things you need to look out for, and those are the things you need to prepare yourself for. And I hope with all the knowledge and experience, some of the videos that has been published on YouTube so far on navigating NHS job and opportunity, and some of the career progressions development that is being discussed about, I hope you're able to take on those opportunities to set yourself up for a very beautiful pathway and future within the system. So what are we looking at now? Sorry, bear with me a second. So do you have any questions before I leave the interview area as well? Do you have any question?
Yes, I do, Said. Good
Yeah,
afternoon
Chidi,
once
go
again.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, please. How about those of us who don't have admin backgrounds previously?
What
How are we
background do
going
you
to
have?
fit in? I have background in microbiology. I have
Yep.
background in public health currently.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I fit into the NHS system
You
without
have a,
having this background?
You do have background in administrative function. There's definitely no way you don't have background in administrative. Okay, you work as, let's say you work a background in microbiology, public health. Okay, so what are the administrative roles that you think I'm talking about in here? Do you want to tell me that, as a microbiologist, if you are a microbiologist, or as a public health official, you don't have junior staff reporting to you?
While I worked back in Nigeria as a microbiologist, I had some junior staff that reported to me though. Yeah,
Yes.
I
Did
do. I
you
do. I
did
did.
you yeah, so did you line manage them?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so that is an administrative
Okay.
responsibility.
Okay.
So when those individuals, when they did not present report to you in the right way, do you not coach them on what to do?
Yeah, yeah, I do.
So again, if they were turning up to work late, did you not have to set up a proper meeting to remind them of the culture of your organization?
Yes, I did.
So another question I'll put to you as well. If a member of your team, which as a microbiologist, has
Okay.
persistently called in sick regularly, do you not come in to step in to find out what's wrong with them and how to support them?
Yeah, I did as well.
So what's the administrative function you've not had? When you were a microbiologist, did you not use various IT systems to input report data for presentation within the senior management to senior management team?
I did as well.
Did you not scrutinize those data to bring about service improvements?
I did.
So what administrative function do you not have then?
So basically, all of this would suffice now, right?
Absolutely.
For brilliance. Brilliance.
Absolutely. You even have an advantage in the sense that you're coming into the system with a medical experience anyway. So even having a combination of a medical background, which is the microbiology aspect of it, combined with the fact that you have a broad knowledge of managerial responsibility, who could be best positioned to come into the system?
Yeah, myself.
That's it. That's it. So you have a broad knowledge, you have all the qualities and attributes they're looking for.
Yeah, that's fine. But the thing about me is, while I worked as a microbiologist, I only focused on my core career as a microbiologist. So I might need to incorporate all my admin roles previously into my application going forward.
Uh,
What do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, this is taking us back to the discussion we just had. You did not focus on there's no way you could say you're a microbiologist and all the data you were collecting in terms of, say, for example, infectious disease reports you were gathering on, transmissible infections, looking at things around um, reports within the microbiology team, all those things require a great deal of administrative function. Do you want to tell me that you didn't have to work to deadline?
Yeah, I did.
So yeah, so those are administrative functions that align well with the responsibility of the microbiology and also will feed well into any administrative responsibility.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, Said.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions regarding interview? Does anyone have any question? All right, great. Let's move on. Right, so pathway to NHS sponsorship. Let me try and see if I can get hold of she. Give me a second. All right, so let me try and let's look at the pathway to sponsorship now within the NHS. Just so if I may ask before I speak up on these, how many? Just speak at random. It's not important for you to wait for me to call you. Just speak at random. How many people in this forum now of the 41 people here? How many of you are still awaiting your sponsorship opportunity? Monserrat. Okay. Yeah. Just you don't need to speak. Just symbolize by raising your hand. Just symbolize. Yeah. 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 Yep. Just symbolize by raising your hand. You don't need to. All right. So, how many? So if you didn't hear the question, so how many of you are still awaiting your sponsorship opportunity? Olumide Oladipupo Awowole, please off your camera. Please off your camera. Please off your camera. Olumide, thank you so much, Olumide. All right. So how many of you? Okay, so there's quite huge numbers of people in here. You know, you can put your hands down now. So let me just lower everyone's hand. Right. So it's quite clear that there's still sponsorship is still a major thing, and I think it will carry on being a major um plight, especially if you're an international student. There's no question about that. And given the nature of the things that is happening now with the care role being actually reserved for people that are already inside the system, and definitely there will be a lot of restriction with that care job. And if you actually even look at it now, knowing that if you go on to take a care job, you have a 10 years pathway to indefinite leave to remain, as opposed to you securing a more reliable, dependable, and more respected position that will probably be excluded from that 10-year pathway, you're probably putting yourself up for different questions. And how do you design your pathway to your NHS sponsorship? First and foremost, you need to secure yourself a part-time role as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Secure yourself a part-time role, your 20 hours role. Please do it within the NHS or do it within the civil service or any public sector job that will give you opportunity to develop yourself. Now you're doing that 20 hours. Once you started that 20 hours, I can tell you for sure from NHS point of view, I know a few bit about civil service, but I know someone within the group that is well skilled on civil service, someone that I've had opportunity to engage. But from NHS point of view, let's say you're doing your 20 hours working as um patient pathway coordinator, or you're working as admin assistant, or you're working as a clerical officer receptionist on 20 hours. Where do you think you are now? Where are you now? So you're doing your 20 hours, maybe 18.5. Even if the job is 22 hours, do not be afraid to apply, because the 2 hours that they can take off it will not be the end of the world for them. There's probably a way they can work around it for you. So if you're doing that job, there are numbers of organizations you can go through. NHS Select, King's Fund, on NHS Select, for example, there are numbers of training there on report writing, minutes taking, introduction to AI, introduction to quality improvements, reports writing, building an effective team. So there's numbers of webinars as well through NHS Select, which you can attend that will upskill you with what you need. NHS QIL, a very important platform, which a lot of you take for granted in some circumstances, which is the quality improvement learning platform, where a lot of the journey of the patient into the hospital is being discussed, where you will have training on patient pathway on cancer management, patient pathway on waiting list management, which is a big issue in the NHS. And all these things we expose you with to all the necessary skills you need to understand the qualities that any NHS manager is looking for. And if you can take on these opportunity to get all these materials ready within your 4 months to your dissertation being due for submission, and this period again will require you to be very tough on yourself. We also require you to be very ruthless with yourself, And in the sense of being ruthless, is about you realizing that you have no time to engage in other things other than focusing on yourself. And what this means in effect is that you as an individual, you will be going into these events, particularly your application for your band 4 or band 5, knowing that 4 months or 5 months into your dissertation being due, you already start pushing yourself to apply for all these other middle managerial position from your 5 onwards, applying for either administration manager, business support officer, supervisory role, or any roles of those kinds. Once you start applying for them, what next do you think will happen? You probably start getting interview invites whilst you're doing your dissertation. And by the time you probably pass your interview, you're probably close to submitting your dissertation. And by the time you submit your dissertation, what do you think is going to happen? Within the second week of dropping your dissertation, you might be able to go start your full-time role, knowing fully well that you are going into a full-time position, which is a job you'll probably do for about another 6 months, 7 months. Some of you will even be still on your student visa before you get your post-study. By the time you get your post-study, what do you do now? You start getting into 6, 7 months into the role. Your post-study have probably expired. You're 3 months, 4 months, or 5 months into your post study, you start looking for your band 6 role, and you will be actually surprised how easy it is to attain any position in NHS upon you being in the system. And once you are in the system with that level of knowledge and experience, you actually be surprised that the rate at which interview will come. At the beginning, interview at the beginning is usually the most difficult part. Once you are in the system, securing your next interview becomes easier than you actually will believe. And what do I mean by you will actually believe? Is the sense that, for instance, you've gone on to secure your band 4, for example, your next career progression, worst case scenario will be a band 5, but your ideal career progression should be a band 6 role. If you want to push yourself to the extreme, rarely unusual, you can secure a band 7. But if you go on to secure yourself a band 5 at the beginning, bear in mind a band 5, you having a postgraduate with a degree certificate you have and a postgraduate, definitely you are well positioned to secure a band 5 with all the things I've just mentioned with Chidi, your administrative knowledge in managing people, any technical skills you have, progressions you might be able to bring into the role. If you're able to do that well, perfectly well, you go on to your band 5, definitely nothing stopping you that your next career progression will be a band 7, and you will be very surprised that your band 7 position is well within reach. 6, 7 months into your band 5 position, you're already pushing forward to the next phase of your career pathway and doing whatever you want to do with yourself. If you secure yourself a band 6 in London, you will get sponsored, definitely. If you secure yourself a band 5 in London with specific numbers of hospitals, which I'll put their name out there again: Guys and St. Thomas's, St. George's, King's College, Imperial, Barking, Avery, and the likes of hospital Epsom and St. Heliers. Those are hospitals, amongst others, that are within the high cost living area. Those hospitals will be able to sponsor you from band 4, because their band 4 usually start from 31,000, which is way ahead of the 30,960. And I'm sure some of you would have seen the news of the proposed 3.5, 3.6 to 4.5% pay rise that will be probably accepted by the union, possibly for NHS staff, which is way above the 2.6 that the government was looking for. So the 3.6 to 4.5% that will be awarded to NHS staff, whatever that will mean, I suppose it will still fall short of what is required for a band 5 outside of London to still grant you sponsorship. But whatever that will mean for you in terms of opportunity going forward, you will see all the necessary career progressions being achieved in that regard. And you will see yourself moving on to a step-by-step guidance and progression that is required as part of your journey and pathway towards your development. And if you go into those roles from your band 4 to band 5 in those areas in London, those of you that are in urgent need of sponsorship, if you shoot directly at those hospitals I mentioned for your band 4, you might be lucky to get 31,000 job with them and then secure a sponsorship from your manager. But this is only, by the way, a caveat, by the way, this is only applicable to students, not a dependent of a student. If you are a dependent, it's still difficult because you still need to secure the job. Either the job is on a shortage occupation list or the job have to be 38,700. So those are the requirements. And I think the fact now that, there will be many things that the government will be putting in place regarding the legislation that is coming up, you will find out that there are ways whereby they will try and block a lot of opportunities for international students. And I think what is also going to happen as well is I will stay hopeful that the rumors swirling around that the government is still not opposition parties and especially the likes of Niger Farage and co are still not happy with some of the leeway the international students have. But you guys are here already. You don't have to worry about it for now. But I'm sure you will not have to worry about it if you're being proactive. And by being proactive is about taking the right steps and making sure that you do the right thing at the right time. And doing the right thing at the right time is also very painful and it can be costly, but you have to do it for yourself and for the sake of your future. In terms of this sponsorship pathway, is there anything you do not understand before I go into Sheyi will be joining us soon and I will open the floor for Q&A and we will take things forward from there. Is there any question you have in here to ask before I open the floor for the Q&A and Sheyi to speak with us? Is there any question you have in this area?
Yeah, I don't enter.
Is there any question you have regarding the sponsorship pathway? Okay, fine. Just give me a second. All right. In the meantime, before Sheyi, Yusuf. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna go. Sheyi is going to be joining us soon. If you have any question, so this is now. I'm gonna open the floor to for us to go into the Q&A. By the way,